Welcome back. Hope you had a great weekend. So last week we discussed that the market may potentially top, right? End of last week or this week. So far, you can see that we pretty much are facing, resistance over the upper channel, but I still don't think that we've actually, have any kind of short-term top yet. I could see some weakness, right, before we have the FOMC meeting, but I'm still expecting like the market to kind of push in, right? At least 458, 459. And if the market, has legs after the meeting, maybe 462, 463. But yeah, I am still looking for this box to hit, right? And then we kind of have a pullback down to like 430s. So that is primarily what I'm watching. And that's one scenario, right? Number two, you may ask me like, what if they don't hike, right? And the market reacts super bullish. It's completely possible, right? We could still be in the third wave wherein this box could still yield a rejection, but instead of, the move down to 430, we probably, just come down, right, to 450 before, you kind of have that fifth wave, right, to the upside, and then you kind of have the much bigger pullback, right? If this is the case, right, I would kind of think that this is where the bigger B wave went. So yeah, I mean, this is one alternate scenario that is possible, but kind of just sticking to my primary scenario, right? And if the market can prove itself, then we could, move on to other scenarios. So that was the bullish bearish one, the super bullish one. And you may ask me, like, is it possible the market has just kind of topped here, right? It is completely possible. Like, we go to the weekly chart, you'll be able to see that. Let me remove this, right? If I fib the top of the channel all the way to the bottom of this channel, you can see that we have retraced, right, almost more than the 0.786 fib, which honestly is generally an area where you could kind of expect rejection. And again, the reason for that is you can see the weekly resistance is all the way up at 459, 460, right? As you can see up here. So yeah, this is primarily a pretty like important level, right? That has caused major tops in the past, right? For example, if I fib the top of this to the bottom of this, right, you'll be able to see that we pretty much pushed up, right? 236 is the inverse of 786. We pretty much pushed up, to the top of this before you had the next leg down. So this generally is an area where B waves tend to end. And yeah, it is completely possible, right, for the market to kind of just top off here and and then have a very large major downside leg that I've drawn here. I don't think so. I don't think we're having that leg just yet. Again, the reason for that is if I show you the chart of the dollar, right, you can see to the top of the channel, this is the bottom of the channel. We still have some ways to go, right, before we come to the bottom of the channel. I mean, it is possible for the dollar and equities to sell together, but yeah, I mean, till we see it happen, right, I wouldn't really try to, bet on that. So yeah, that is something I'm watching as well, right? Continued dollar weakness to the bottom. And also we know the 10-year, right? Massive rejection. So it is kind of looking weak, a little more downside. So yeah, it's kind of why I think any pullback, right, in the market would likely, just looking for the wave 3 to finish out, come down for the wave 4 before it has the wave 5. And same on the Qs as well. Something I am looking for to watching is to see this wave 5, finishing out, right? This is kind of an alternate version to what I had on SPY, right? On this is more 50503, right? Versus on this, you can see this is more like a 50305. So like it's like a much bigger wave, which would, coincide with what I showed you, right? Where this is a 1, 2, this is your 3, 4, and then you kind of have that fifth leg higher. So yeah, kind of what I'm watching, right? Let's just take it level by level and let's just see how the market goes on. With that being said, let's look at this week's watch list. The first one I have is Airbnb. Again, the reason for that is I've had, 150 as a target for a while, and we seem to have progressed higher, right? I could definitely, see more upside on Airbnb. I just think that you can see that right here, this is a weekly trend line down, right? So that's why I think 150, 151, right? If it does have that bounce up here, could, have some kind of short-term downside, It's kind of what I am looking for, right? Before it continues higher. So if it rejects 150, 151, I'm just looking, for a move back down to 145, 140. That's the reason I have Airbnb right on this week's watch list. The next one I have is MRNA. Again, the reason for that is you can see that this is the bottom of the channel, right? And we went sideways for like 4 weeks. And now, right, it's kind of having an inside week. So I think MRNA could actually be a really good one this week, right? If it can break over 128, 129, it should easily be able to push up to 135, 137, and even 140. So that's why I have MRNA calls on this week's watch list. The next one I have is crowd. And again, the reason for that is previous resistance, right? Turned it into new support, tried to break out last week, kind of failed. So now crowd again, I'm thinking, right, bullish or bearish at minimum, right? If I go to the 4-hour chart, right, I think we could retest this top of the resistance, right, before it kind of decides whether it's going to reject or whether it's going to break or go higher. So I'd say over 152, 155, 157, and 160 are the targets for crowd on this week's watch list. And the last but not the least is BABA. Again, I was just kind of looking for the bull trap, right? And Chinese stocks have not really sold off compared to like the tech index. So I mean, BABA isn't a pennant. So if it breaks the bottom of the channel at 91, then I can definitely see 89 and even 87, right? And if it breaks, the bullish trigger for BABA is 95. If it can break over 95, then I can definitely see 100, 110, 120. So yeah, kind of just wait to see how this resolves itself. Either it's going to go lower and bounce, or it's going to have a breakout this week. So yeah, thank you so much. Have a great day.